Hello, welcome back to the course Beginning Laravel. In previous section, getting started with Laravel, we got an overall idea of Laravel framework. We see basics of Laravel framework and what are the features and what you can do with the Laravel framework. In this section, diving into Laravel, we are going to take a look at creating and configuring your Laravel application, exploring Laravel directory structure, working with dependencies, packages, and its installation with Composer, and exploring Laravel Artisans command. In this video, creating and configuring your Laravel application, we are going to take a look at create Laravel application with Composer, application configurations, and web server configurations. Now, first of all, we will create a Laravel application with Composer that we already did in the first video of previous section. But in this video, we are going to create a Laravel application inside our web server root folder. So later on, see what are the application configurations required and what are the web server configurations required. So for that, go to terminal, go to the root directory of your web server. In this case, I will go to the root directory of my mam, which is htdocs. Now we will create application with Composer. So the command is same what we have used in the first video. Composer create project, use the preferred distribution, type of the project will be Laravel, and folder where we are going to create a Laravel project is learn Laravel. Enter. Now it will take some time. Okay, now so our Laravel application is created. Now we have to configure it. In the application configuration, we will see the public directory, Laravel configuration files, directory permissions required to run the Laravel application, and environment configurations. Now for the Laravel public directory, we will go to the applications folder where our application is created. So inside mam, htdocs, learn Laravel. As you can see, this is the Laravel application created. If you go to the public folder, there is a file called index.php. Index.php is the file, or we can say it's an entry point for your Laravel application. As you have seen in the previous video, when we were running the Laravel application in the browser, we were using the URL like localhost / Laravel app / public. So public folder is the entry point for the Laravel application, and index.php is the file which is the first file which will be executed when we run any Laravel application, and then it will execute the Laravel controllers and methods inside the controllers. However, it's not the recommended way to run the Laravel application, as we have to remove /public from the URL of our Laravel application, and we can just run it with localhost / Laravel app name. For this, we have to set a virtual host, and we will see that in some time. Next is the configuration files which are available in the config directory. If you go to the config directory, these are the configurations files which are created with the Laravel application. Each config file has its own purpose and has its own configurations. For example, app.php is the application configuration file. If you open it, you will see there are number of configurations related to your application, like time zone, the language, application key, log, and certain providers which we use for our Laravel application. Another one is auth.php, which has configurations for authorizations, like what type of authorizations we use. As we see here, we are using the passwords for the users. Then we have providers. So this is the configuration for authorization. Then we have a database configuration. Here you can manage the database connections. You can manage the multiple connections with SQLite, MySQL, PGSQL, etc. Then we have a mail.php. Here you can configure your SMTP server to send or receive mail in your Laravel application. So these are the certain configurations file which are available with Laravel application, which you can use to configure your Laravel application. Next is the directory permissions. Laravel application needs some directory permissions to run properly on some kind of environment, particularly the storage folder and Bootstrap cache folder. These folders require write permission to create files, because storage folder is used to create compiled views, your session files, etc. files are created inside the storage, and cache file is used to cache your Laravel application files like blade templates and all, so that optimize your performance. So we have to set write permission to these two folders. So for that, go to the terminal, go inside your Laravel application, which is in our case learn Laravel. To give write permission to the storage folder, we will write a command chmod recursive 777 to storage. As we have used the recursive function, so storage directory and all its subdirectories and files will get a write permission. Hit enter. Now go to the Bootstrap folder, use the same command chmod -r 777 cache. So now the storage folder has the write permission and cache folder inside the Bootstrap folder has a write permission. So now our Laravel application run without any problem. Next is environment configurations. Laravel uses .env PHP library for maintaining environment of the application. If you look at the Laravel application root directory, you will find .env file if you have created a Laravel application with the composer. If you have created Laravel application with Laravel installer, you will get this .env.example file, which you have to rename to .env file. But since we have created Laravel application with the composer, we have .env file right away available with us. If you open that file, here as you can see, there are certain environment related variables mentioned over here, like app environment, which is local, app debug is set to true, application key is generated, application URL is /localhost, DB connection is MySQL, DB host, DB port, mail, etc. you can configure here. Now what is the use of this .env file? .env file is used to hold environment configurations for your different servers, or let's say for your different environment. For example, for your local server you need some different environment, and for your test server and for your production server you need some kind of different environment. So you can create a different env file for each environment, and then you can use the particular environment on your particular server. So this is the use of .env file. Next is the web server configurations. In a web server configurations, we will set up the .htaccess file and we will create a virtual host. .htaccess file is the file found in your public directory. Here, if you open it with the editor, so this .htaccess file is actually rewriting your Laravel URL to the URL which Laravel application can understand, and it will execute a particular controller and a particular function inside that. So .htaccess file is used for this. Now this file will not give any effect if mode rewrite module is not enabled for your web server. So to check that, you have to go to the folder applications, mamp, config, Apache, and open the file httpd.conf. Open it in your favorite editor. Here search for mode_rewrite. As you can see here, the mode rewrite module is enabled. In your case, if this module is not enabled and if it's commented like this, you have to uncomment this, save the file and restart your MAMP server. So now mode rewrite will be enabled and .htaccess will give its effect and will rewrite its URL to so that Laravel application can run easily. Now the last part, which is to set up the virtual host. So for that, let's first start MAMP and just run our Laravel application. Okay, so our MAMP server is running. Now let's run our Laravel application, which is Laravel learn says public, and as you can see, the home page of Laravel application is enabled. Now as we discussed earlier that we will remove this public/public from the URL. So for that we have to set up a virtual host. For this, go back to your httpd config file, which is the Apache configuration file, and search for the file vhost. Okay, so here as you can see, the virtual host file is inside applications MAMP config Apache extra and httpd/vhost.config. By default it will be commented, so you have to remove this comment, save the file, and now we will open this file which is inside our Apache extra folder. So go back to Apache extra vhost.config. Okay, as you can see here, they have given some example of how to create a virtual host. So virtual host is nothing but it is creating a virtual host. So you can create a server name like this, dummy.host.example.com, and for this the document root will be this folder. So when you run this URL in a browser, it will actually hit here and will open your website. So as we see that we have to remove /public from the URL of Laravel application, so we will create a virtual host with a particular server name and will point it to /public folder, so that when we run that server name inside a browser, our Laravel application will start. So to save the time, I have already created a virtual host, so we will just copy it, go to httpd vhost.config and remove the example virtual host and paste our own virtual host. So now the virtual host is created, but to take it into effect, we have to restart the MAMP. So stop the server, it stopped, restart it. So the MAMP server started. Now our virtual host will work, but on the Mac OS X we need one more extra step to make this virtual host working. Is we have to modify the host file. So for that, run the command sudo nano/etc/host. It will ask for your login password, and as you can see, this is the host file, and here there are certain hosts are created. Here we will make our one more entry, which is this, the server name which we have used in creating a virtual host, which is learn Laravel. So we will copy, save, yes, and it is saved. Now just for the safety, let's restart the MAMP again. Server is stopped, restart. Okay, so now the server is started. Now use this virtual host server name which we have created and use it like http Laravel. So that's it. As you can see, with the server name learn Laravel on the port 8888, which is the default port used by the MEMP right now, our Laravel application is running. So we have successfully removed /public from the URL and we are using the virtual host to run the Laravel application now. So next time onwards, for the all our examples, we will. So this is how you can set up a virtual host and you can create a Laravel application and configure all its required configurations and set up a virtual host to run it properly in the browser.